Cult as fear label. Okay, so I find it very fascinating that so many people judge Destiny as a cult. So that's why I want to make this video, to actually show and reveal just how the word cult in itself is simply a fear label, which is not only a label to instigate and to try instigate fear on the one that the word is being placed on as a label, but also a word that comes from fear, that comes from a person who actually experiences fear towards cults. And what is a cult? Thus, what is it that people actually fear about a cult that makes them place the word cult on what they see and define as being a cult? And that is actually the point of, a cult as being something that brainwashes you, or that is able to brainwash you. And that's what people fear. People fear that point of being able to be brainwashed, and something that can brainwash you, something that has the power to brainwash you. So therefore they fear these type of groups that have existed throughout history, and also now, like religious groups, stuff like that. People fear them, especially like the closed groups that have a certain specific set of belief systems that kind of deviates from the rest of society. For instance, with Scientology and Kabbalah and stuff like that, those things get easily judged as being a cult as well. So what I found interesting within that fear of being brainwashed, and the reason why people would in fact fear a group that is apparently able to brainwash them, is because they're actually afraid of themselves. Is because they actually desire to be brainwashed. Actually they want it. Actually they fear of being sucked into it. They fear themselves. They fear their own desires to be brainwashed. They fear that if they were to in fact go into that group, for instance, beings who look at Destiny and they call Destiny a cult, and they're not willing to apply self-forgiveness, they're not willing to give it a go, give it a try, apply the tools that Destiny presents, which is self-forgiveness. They're not willing to try it because they see it as cult tools of brainwashing, wherein Destiny is trying to get a grip on them through self-forgiveness. So they think, if I apply self-forgiveness, I'm gonna be brainwashed by Destiny. And what I found is that actually what they're afraid of is their own desire to be brainwashed, that they actually see Destiny as a cult because they want to see Destiny as a cult, because they desire to be sucked into something, they desire to be seduced, they desire to give their power away to a group. And that's why they fear Destiny, and that's why they fear applying self-forgiveness, because they actually see self-forgiveness as something that is able to brainwash them, because they actually see themselves as this weak being that is so easily able to be directed, because that's what they want. That's what they actually really want. They actually desire to be directed in that way and to be brainwashed in that way. So that's fascinating, and it's those people who will claim themselves to be apparently completely rational and completely in control of their world and their life, and completely independent, and free from any kind of group, free from religion, free from all that stuff. And they are the ones who will, for instance, call Destiny a cult, and even go and attack Destiny and attack the whole principle of self-forgiveness and all that. Because I mean, that doesn't have anything to do, the whole cult judgment has nothing to do with destiny, and it has nothing to do with self-forgiveness. It has everything to do with who they are within themselves, which is basically beings that are basically looking for, or that actually want a god or something outside of themselves that brainwashes them, and that takes every bit of responsibility out of their hands, and that just guides them. They want that so much that they're not willing to be honest about it with themselves, towards themselves. So they lie to themselves by pretending to be independent and in control and all that. But if they were to really be honest with themselves and look inside themselves, they'd actually see that what they really want is exactly the thing that they fear, is to be brainwashed and to be controlled and to give their power away to something. Because if it wasn't for that desire as actually the nature of themselves within themselves, then they wouldn't even see their environment in that way. You know, the whole point of the whole cult point and concept wouldn't even come up within themselves when, for instance, looking at destiny. That whole fear wouldn't even come up within themselves when they look at destiny. The only reason why that fear exists is because the desire exists, because fear and desire is simply part of one polarity. So there you have it. Another reason why those people who are so quick to use the cult word are simply using that word out of fear, and are basically abusers because they are really unwilling to actually just stop within themselves and look within themselves and be self-honest, you know, just be honest with themselves and just have a look inside themselves and realize what the fuck they're doing and what exists within themselves. They're not willing to do that, so they go and judge, you know, something outside of themselves that triggers that point of fear within themselves, instead of realizing, but you know, hey, this fear exists within myself, so it's me, it's all me, it's not out there, it's right here. And you know, so basically that is what destiny is really presenting, is just to fucking be self-honest, take self-responsibility, and the best way to do that is through applying self-forgiveness. And if you would actually be willing to look beyond your own fear and just apply the tools, just be willing to give yourself the chance to get to know reality and not just cling onto that one point of fear within yourself, within the belief that somehow you know everything about reality and the way you feel within yourself is how reality really is. I mean, if you just allow yourself the chance to basically just realize, but you know, fear, what is fear? Fear is just a limiting experience wherein I don't allow myself to get to know reality, to get to know everything that is here. I mean, why not join a group? Why not go to church? Why not try stuff and and see for yourself, does it work or not? You know, what is it doing to me? How do I feel when I do this? How do I experience self-forgiveness? You know, what is it actually doing to me, or what am I doing to myself? How do I feel, etc.? Just try it out. It can't hurt unless you allow it to hurt you. So that's just what I wanted to share about that. So those who are willing to look beyond their fear and consider that there may be more to reality and to ourselves than what we've always believed, than what our fears are telling us. You can investigate destiny and, you know, the whole concept of self-forgiveness and give it a chance. I have, and I am really glad that I did, because I have gotten to know myself in ways that I never had expected. It's really cool. So that's destiny.org. Thanks.